So you can see currently that this investment account, it holds £87,200. One of the things to note is that it can fluctuate massively. You know, this portfolio has reached a high of over £122,000 earlier this year. You can see here it says February the 24th, 2026, and it can fluctuate up and down. And that's something that, you know, because this portfolio is fully biotech, this is something that you have to be accustomed to. You know, I pretty much only invest in biotech stocks simply because I have a very strict vetting process and procedure which I apply to my investing, which I'll talk through a lot more in this video as well. But with biotech stocks comes a lot of volatility, and you have to be comfortable with that volatility. You have to be comfortable with seeing extreme swings, and in particular, you know, watching stocks decline. In my personal experience, you know, I've seen stocks that I've invested in decline to 40%, you know, and I've stuck with them and I've continued investing, and a lot of that comes down again to the strategy that I employ, which I'll talk through today. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to talk through these individual holdings that you can see here one by one. We've got ImmunityBio, ticker IBRX. We have Allergen Therapeutics, ticker ALLO. We have Humacyte, which is one that I've documented quite a lot at the moment because there's an upcoming catalyst, and I've made numerous posts and videos and shorts all documenting why I'm very bullish with this stock. And we have Co-Crystal Pharmaceuticals, ticker COCP as well. And so the first thing to note, obviously, you know, is this unrealized profit with ImmunityBio at the moment, which is over £40,000, and me investing into this stock at an average price of $2.48 when it's trading at in the region of anywhere between $7 to $9 at the moment typically. And so fundamentally it comes down to the evaluation process that I go to with all of these stocks, you know, and the result that you can see there, the $40,000 plus, is as a result of things that probably people don't want to hear. You know, it comes down to having a level of patience, to having a level of discipline, to having a level of belief, you know, in the company itself. And so when I say discipline, you know, I've seen this stock drop to below my entry at one point. Now, I made numerous entries into this stock at around $1.34 or 37 cents, at $3.50, and then at later stage I invested in this stock at around $1.90, $2 and $2.50. So I've made numerous entries in this stock over a 2.5 year period. And so like I was saying, you know, with the investment in ImmunityBio, one of the things that I did see was I saw it drop maybe 20, 30 or 40%, I can't quite remember, and I was actually buying more of that stock in that time simply because it was bringing my overall mean entry point into the stock down significantly too. And that's one of the strategies that I employ across all of the biotech stocks that I invest. Now, one of the major things with ImmunityBio is this vetting process that I have, that I talk about quite a lot. You know, I'm looking for industry leaders. I'm looking for world-class leadership in every stock that I invest. And that's exactly the process that I've used when I've invested in ImmunityBio, when I've invested in Allergen Therapeutics, when I've invested in Humacyte, and when I've invested in Co-Crystal Pharmaceuticals too. All of these companies have inside ownership of world-class leaders, of people that have proven pedigree, of a proven track record, and some level of having done this before in most cases, with the exception of Humacyte. And so with ImmunityBio, you know, there's high inside ownership of that stock by the owner-operator, the founder, Patrick Soon-Shiong. You know, he's worth billions and billions of dollars. And you can see right here the ownership of ImmunityBio by Patrick Soon-Shiong, how much he actually owns. He also manages and controls these two entities right here, so California Capital LLC and Nantworks LLC too. And so if you like, this is the first thing that I do when I look for a biotech stock. I'm looking for high inside ownership. Off the back of that high inside ownership, I'm then investigating in that individual. I'm really looking at their track record, you know, I'm looking at the past. Have they done this kind of thing in the past? And again, I've documented this in great detail with each of these stocks here, you know, of the inside ownership, of the pedigree of the individual, because fundamentally what it comes down to, the success of a company comes down to the execution by leadership. You know, when you look at the biggest companies in the world, whether that's Amazon, whether that's Tesla, whether that's Meta and Nvidia, you know, all of those companies, they have a pioneer leading that company who is going to drive his ethos, his values, into that company and build the culture of that company as well. And they're going to hold a significant amount of stock too. And so essentially the ethos or the strategy across all of these companies is that I'm investing primarily with the individual because I'm investing in their experience. What I'm investing in as well is almost, if you like, their interpersonal skills, things that can't be read in financial reports, for example, or the accountings of a company. For example, with the likes of Patrick Soon-Shiong, I'm investing in his strength of character, his ability to have done this kind of 2 or 3 or 4 times before. His experience spans over 30 years in this industry. He's brought biotech medications or treatments to market in the past. He's an innovator, he's a pioneer. These are the kind of things I'm investing in. I'm also investing in the relationships that he's built. Over these 30 years or so, he has built relationships with people too. And all of these things help to facilitate or increase his chances of being successful again. And so essentially what I'm doing is I'm hedging on these companies at very early stages or earlier stages, and I'm hedging on these interpersonal skills. I'm investing in the mind of that individual, and it's through this investment philosophy that I've been able to get the results, if you like, with ImmunityBio that we can see on the screen. And it's exactly the same principle when I've invested in Allergene Therapeutics. Again, essentially what I'm doing is I'm investing with the individuals, the co-founders, if you like, one being an individual called Ari Beldegren and the other one called David Chang.